Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And it's Thursday, it's March 4th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And this was a crazy day. It's continuation of the downtrend yesterday after a little sideways action. It's very rare that you'll go into the next day to find your measured moves or to really even use your price action other than to look for support and resistance once you're outside of today's. Like when you're trending down here, there's no previous support or resistance over here, so you really have to go into the previous days. But one thing I wanted to make you aware of today is that if you look at yesterday, this is yesterday's downtrend. You can see we started here, and before we bounced, we were here. So if you measure that leg and move it and notice there's two legs up there, and so that's a two-legged correction. So if we ended up trading down, there's your measured move, and it's a perfect measured move before it bounces. So even this just shows you how price action works at every level, and it's layered. And generally, we don't look at layers this big. And the only reason I'm showing you this is this would have been a good way to find your target once we started heading down. Uh, you might, first you're going to look for this target, but with this being a range, you're going to look for a measured move on your range as well. That would be the first way I would have looked for a target here. And that puts your target right in here. But I would also use this other one, and you can see that was the actual target of the price action, was to make a measured leg similar to the leg down yesterday. And you can see we bounced right there at that measured move and rallied from there. So always look to your previous day when you run out of stuff to look at in the current day. So let's back out here just to see today's price action. And you can see this is the 2 o'clock and 8:30's here, so we started trading around 7 in here. But it was a range day until suddenly we failed out the top. And a lot of times, I tell you, on these failed breakouts, if they're to the low side, it might be an important low for the day. And if it's to the top side, it might be an important high for the day. So if you can catch one of those moves on a breakout, on a failed breakout, you can get some really nice moves out of these trades. So it's important that you watch those failed breakouts. But let's zoom in and we'll start with the day. But again, you can see the sideways action and the failed break higher and then the sell off. And there's lots and lots of trades in here. So I marked the bet. I mean, there's some of them you could probably argue for that I didn't mark. I only marked, there's just so many. It's going to take me forever to go through these. I'm going to try to go through these quickly because it's already 6 o'clock and I'm just now getting to this today. I had some other stuff I had to take care of, and so I had to step out of the office for a little while today, and so I'm a little bit behind here. So yes, there's probably other trades in here. I only marked the best trades, the very obvious ones that I think are pretty straightforward, but you might see some other trades. One other thing I wanted to mention real quickly, and I'm trying to do this quickly. I've had a handful of people that have Xfinity cable. I think it's through Comcast, maybe, I'm not sure. But I had a handful of them contact me saying they couldn't reach the website. They were saying that the website was insecure, and we did some research. I had tech support check my security certificate. It's good. Our SSL is good. There's no problem on the website. This is some kind of new software that Xfinity's using, and it's blocking a lot of people from a lot of sites. There is a fix for it. You can turn it off. It's called iSecure or secure.io or something like that. It's something new they're using, and it gives some false readings on security certificates. So so far, only 4 or 5 people have contacted me saying it's a problem, but that doesn't mean there aren't more of you out there that are having this issue, and some more cable companies may do it. So if you're having a problem reaching our cable or our website, it could be due to that same type software. So just be aware of that. There is a fix. You can go in and turn it off. Just Google how to do it. I have the link. Email me, and I'll send you the link on how to do it. It's pretty simple. Everybody that's done it fixed it real quickly, and they've had no more issues so far. So anyway, it's not our website, but it's something to do with the cable company, and it just seems like every day there's something new that they throw out there that tries to keep people from going to certain websites and things like that. And you know why it's picking our website, I don't know, but I know for a fact that our security certificate is good, our SSL is good, so you have a secure connection to our website, even if it says you don't. And so just be aware of that. Let's back out, talk about the trades, and try to get through this as quick as I can. I'm going to try to keep this under 20 minutes. So if it feels like I'm rushing, I apologize, but I want to get this up. And this will wrap up the week too. No chart lessons on Fridays. So I'll start my weekend after lunch tomorrow, most likely. But early on, we're in a trading range here. 7 o'clock comes. We got this little trend channel working higher, and you get a confirmation. But mostly here, you get a little second entry long. This one's close to being green. It's not a perfect signal bar, and it is close to this resistance, but the overnight high is way up here, and you do have room to still scalp out there most likely. So just make sure that's the key, is making sure you got room to get out before you reach these highs. This one's close to being green, but you can clearly see if it wasn't, it's a second entry, but it's not a great second entry. The key is there's a new swing low there. It's lower than that one, or you could call that a double bottom. So that's a first entry, second entry. So there's a little trap there, and you can see it traps people. Look how it rockets up real quick. So that's why I like it. It's going to act as a trap, and when that's what they'll do when they can't take prices higher. They'll create a trap to the short side, or vice versa. If they can't take prices lower, they'll create a trap to the low side, and that usually will push it on through. And notice that it comes back and it tests that breakout area before it goes higher again. There's actually a couple of legs up here. They're not quite a measured leg, so that tells you we're probably going to sell off fairly hard, and that's what happens there. Anytime you get a measured leg and you come up short and then you start trending the other way and you don't end up reaching that measured leg, that's telling you we're probably going to trade down pretty hard, or trade in the opposite direction rather hard. So, but you get your break here. Again, you get a first entry short, second entry short, and so that's another failure. And a little small bar, really low risk, and look at it jump up real fast again, and that's what happens. Higher low right here. There's actually this is actually a failed second entry short again, and this is not a second entry long though. It's just a first entry long. And there's a higher low here, but I don't think you want to take that one. It's too close to that high, and it's not very far from that one. And you got a little bit of congestion going on there. You're away from, anytime you're further away from the EMA, the trade's always suspect. So I would skip that trade. We run on up, and then we try to go higher once, twice, and we're looking, this is all played out over here, and we're looking for a reversal off the highs here. We actually made a new high right there, but you don't have your two legs up. I like this just for a trap. You're just trying to get a quick trap, and it breaks higher, turns down. You may wait. It's a failure as soon as it breaks below. Once the second entry triggers and it breaks lower, it's a failure. So you could have even waited till here to enter, but your stop has to go above that little swing high. This actually ticks higher right here, creating that trap, and look at it go. And you don't know that you're necessarily going to get that. You're just looking to get a scalp off the trap, and this thing just takes off. And we run down, we work our way sideways, and you just don't really get a setup off that trend line, and it ends up the range is kind of the play here. You do get a turn down, a nice bearish bar right off the highs, and it's also a first entry, and there's a second entry. Really, failures and second entries don't matter a whole lot when you're going sideways like this, but we traded down into this. We're probably going to go lower, and so you want to try to catch that move lower out of here, just as I talked about these failed breakouts. This turns out to be just a scalp, nothing more, and that's probably all you're going to get out of these unless you break out and fail. There is a higher low right here, but I don't think you want to go long in the middle of this range when we the bigger range and right in this tight range when we traded down in this, I would be concentrating on shorts. And so now you get a second entry short. Again, second entries are not that important, but if you get one in a good setup, pay attention to it. That's clearly 2 legs back and a little bit of a failed breakout. Nice bearish bar, plenty of room back to the lows, man, it takes off again. And again, you want to measure your moves here. Always look for your measured moves. And that puts us down here at the lows. We didn't quite make that one. We're not off up. We didn't miss it by much, but that's just because of the lows here where we bounced the last couple of times. We couldn't get lower than that again, so that's why we probably bounced there. But this rockets up. You get a first entry. So there's a second leg up. It fails. It pulls back right to the key entry or the EMA. That's always a good entry. And I draw my trend line there. And then you get a higher low right here as well. And this one really didn't take off on the failed second entry, but it's just a tick lower. And even though the count's there, I would really look at this more like the failed second entry. And you can tell a lot of people were waiting for more confirmation because now look at it go. And then we try to go lower once, twice again. And that's, you could count that as a double bottom. I marked this one green, but this is really close. The only reason I marked this one green is because it looks a little congestive there, but I still like that trade, and it's close to being blue. And you can tell the smarter traders like that. It's a little bit of a trap, and really, to me, that looks like your failed second entry short. So it rockets on up, but that's another double bottom. First entry, second entry. So really your failure's there. But then it tries to go lower again, and that's a second entry long. So I like entering right there, and it's off that trend line again. There's a higher low here, but it's right into a double top. I'd skip it. And then there's another failed second entry short here. Again, not a great setup. All those matching highs. If it breaks higher, it's probably going higher, but I'm going to wait for a better trade than that. And this thing just kind of, that's one of those trends that doesn't look strong, but it's fairly strong. All the dojis and little small bars and the real shallow corrections. But the further you get away from this EMA and the longer you stay, the bigger the chance that you're going to get a correction soon. So I just sit tight and wait on me a short or wait on it to reach this high. I mean, technically you could just about enter every one of these. It comes back to the trend line and you'd get an easy scalp. But eventually one of them's not going to work, and it never fails. The one you enter will be that one. So you got to be real careful. But we run up here, we get a close outside, we try to go higher once, it breaks higher twice and fails. When it turns down, we're at least coming back to the EMA. And that's an engulfing bar. It breaks higher and turns down and then goes out the lower side. And I like that just because it's a double test. You make that high and you test it once, twice, so it's a triple high or whatever, but that's really just a double test, and then the bottom just falls out. And you don't know you're going to get this bigger move. You're just looking to get a scalp back to the EMA on that one. If this was a trend day, I wouldn't take a trade like that yet for all that sideways, but on a range of day, especially when prices are flip-flopping back and forth like this on a volatile day, we run back down, we bounce, try to go short once, you try to go short twice. When it breaks higher right there, it's also a second entry long. So you got another failed second entry long, and you're looking for it to retest the highs of this and maybe even this channel over here, and that's what happens, and we sell off. And by that time you can kind of see, I didn't color this one, but you can see the secondary channel working up here. I don't see any shorts I like down through there, unfortunately. And then we bounce, and you get a first entry short, second entry short, so that looks like another reversal pattern. I like going long. Quick, easy scalp. Comes back, and then you get a second entry long, again, right off that key entry point. My line's a little out of whack here. And there it is. So second entry long, right off that key entry point, we've been bouncing off of it. Runs up, comes back, and you just don't get a really good entry again until we're up at the highs and we get this breakout. This one's too congestive, still way up where you'd have to go short right into the support resistance, and it's been acting kind of as resistance a couple of bars here, so I don't think you want to go short there. Then we get another push up, and this time you get a little failed break higher on the range, and it's a failed break higher on the whole thing, but it breaks higher and fails and turns down and goes out the other side on an engulfing bar, and it's off the high of we reached the high of the trend channel now, and you got a break out of here and 2 legs up to a new high. I like taking that one just because you might catch that important high for the day, and guess what? There it goes, and you easily catch a runner here, and prices never get back up there to run your stop either. We come back, you get a first entry, and your second entry never triggers until this bar, and so that doesn't qualify. There's a lower high here, but you got to go short right into the trend line, and that's the first close outside of it. So we may push to, we may try to push up again. So I think you have to just skip that one. And unfortunately, you don't get, there's a nice move down, but unfortunately, you don't really get a setup because you don't want to be entering short down here this far away from the EMA. But finally, it comes back. You get a first entry and a second entry, and it actually breaks higher. When it does, that's going to probably act like a trap and drop on down. It really didn't take off that quickly. So, and your measured move is way down here. So you still got a little room left, little gas in the tank there to get lower. And with that trap, I like trading it. You can see it. They finally realize they're trapped, and it drops on down real quick. Makes a perfect measured move to the tick, and it makes a double test there. I liked this trade. I did not mark it because there's just so many trades so far, but that should be at least green. I like that trade, I'll be honest with you. With that measured move and a double test, but it's a little congestive, so there's some reasons to be concerned about it. This is a downtrend, and you never want to be buying that. But if you're a good chart reader and you like to be aggressive, that's one you might take. The better trade is to wait for up here because you probably catch a runner when it comes back to the trend line. As you can see, draw your trend line off those first few swings there. Comes back here. And this is a lower high. It actually, nice bearish bar, a little ways away from the EMA. Double kiss off you hit the trend line once, twice, turns down. I like going short there. That far away from the EMA. There's actually a trap, a failed second entry long right here, and you could consider that one, but that looks a little congestive, and it broke higher and then turns down, and it could flip back up. But that's another one you could argue to be green. There's a bunch of trades in here that you could, that I didn't mark necessarily, as I said. So, but you could treat that. Really, that just looks like one leg down to me. So you may get another leg too, and you do. So now there's your 2 legs. So this could act as a trap too, but it's not quite back to the trend line, and then you're just kind of going sideways. It's just a first entry, so I think you got to skip it. Then you get your break, and that's a nice signal bar, but notice how you got the failed breakout here. The only reason I don't like trying to gamble on riding this as a failed breakout is that this trend line's holding and still in play. And you see it failed there, and it may fail here. And for the same reason, you can't go short because it's just a little early to know we're going to continue to go lower. But now you can see the bottom just falls out of it. Again, look for your measured legs here. And you can see we got a perfect measured leg basically before it bounced. You don't want to be going long here because this is a really strong downtrend, but I don't see any shorts in there. There is a second entry short right there, but we just came off the low side. We pushed right through the EMA. We pushed right through the midline right there. We're above the EMA. Just sit patient and wait. That's just not a good place to be entering. and then we come back. You get a first entry, second entry. I don't like trading a failure right into the low of the day, but when you get a second entry and you've tested that EM midline once, twice, three times, and then you get a second entry short, just take that trade. As long as you got enough room to get out, you might use a limit order here to help you get out. Drops on down, and just a first entry. You've already had your measured leg, so I'd be real careful entering here. This second entry is fairly tempting, but we haven't got to the low side. We actually touched the low side here, and we're not getting back down there, so there's a good chance we're headed back here, and I just think it's too risky. And the next thing you know, we're going sideways. I still don't think you want to try to go long here. This one's a possibility. Again, there's going to be some here, as I said, I didn't mark, but notice that low, you try to go lower once, you try to go lower twice, and then we bounce. So you got a double test there basically of the lows, and you're looking for prices to come back here, and this looks like a range across here. So you may take that trade, but I just think it's a little aggressive. The better trade is a second entry up here, but that signal bar is too neutral. But you do get a lower high again right off the trend line. You still got room back down to here. That's the better trade. And it breaks higher first. It's engulfing bar, so I like going short one tick below that on the lower high. And then, of course, now we're bouncing again, but you don't want to go long right into this trend line coming down. But notice you get a first entry, second entry, so another second entry short right off the key entry point. And we come back yet again, and there's actually two bigger legs there, and that makes an almost perfect double top. But this is an inside bar, so it's not a good signal bar. It doesn't have matching highs. The lower high is too bullish, but you get a reversal pattern here again right off that key entry point, and that's the first close outside of it, and we're underneath here. So I kind of like that failure just to try to get a trap. It didn't take off like I thought it would, and it's always a danger of trading a breakout with the breakout. So the only reason I liked it was because it was a trap, and this is a strong trend down. And I thought I'd made a mistake on this one, but it works out, and it actually works out well. But then you get another second entry, but we overshot here, and this is an inside bar again, so it's not one you can take. I'd actually draw my little trend channel there too. So we're just kind of chopping along. It still has a little negative feel downtrend. We're making lower highs, and or at least lower highs here still. But you can see it finally turns, and we run up here. I don't think it's time. I mean, I'd be leery looking for a reversal just yet. Of course, we have made a measured move on the 2 days. That's what this line is coming across here. It pointed way over here to the right, so I had to pull this back. We actually met it real early compared to what you would think we would. But we still have a downward bias here. Even though we have a break and a new low, you've got two legs up here. And you made that high, you try to go higher once, twice, and that's a second entry short, a big bearish bar, a long way away from the EMA. I think it's worth one more shot in case it comes back down. It doesn't, but it's an easy scalp. And after that, I wouldn't look for shorts anymore. You can see we pretty much confirmed this two-tiered channel here. You don't get a chance to go long on it, though, unfortunately. Then it works back. This is actually, notice this is a double top, so first entry, second entry, but to me that only looks like one leg down, so there's a chance you're going to get another leg. And you can see that's exactly what happens. You get that second leg down right there. And that's what I see people make this mistake all the time. So be real careful with that one. It's right off the key entry point. You could count it as a second entry. It does look a little like two legs. But this just looks sideways with one big leg, and you can see that read was correct because there's your next leg. And that's the whole idea behind second entries, is we're looking for two legs of correction or whatever. So, but it bounces, runs up, or we actually close outside on this one. We run up. I don't see any way to go long there. There is This is like a first entry, second entry. So this is a third entry long, too dangerous with the trend channel right there still in play. You don't really get a chance to go long here. This is way too far away from the EMA, even though that looks, notice you get a first entry, second entry. So your failed second entries here, too far away from the EMA, and this is too far away. I just don't see anything here. Then we work sideways, and you get this failed breakout. And you might trade that just to ride it back into this, because it's probably going to come back at least test this low, but you can see it comes back and goes right into the range. That takes us into 2 o'clock, and nothing after that. So not a lot of opportunity late this afternoon, but lots of trades today. Really before noon, there was so many trades. It's just a ton of them. And there's more, like I said, there's more you could argue for to be green, or and there might even be some that, on a certain day you might mark. I think I got all the red or blue ones, but there's some more you could argue to be green, for sure. So if you see something that that I didn't mark that you liked, it doesn't mean that it wasn't necessarily a possibility. It was probably just aggressive, and there's so many good trades that you just don't want to try to take something like that. Or it might have looked a little different on your chart too. That's always a possibility. But that was it for today, and that's what I see, and we're almost 30 minutes, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to wrap it up for today, and this is going to wrap up our week. We'll be back again to do it Monday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.